Hey, greetings everybody. This is Wesley Pepper. This is the Art Lexcia. We are on episode 89, so we're getting close to 100, which is really cool. Almost 100 hours after as like art-based content. So you know about that. So also, just to actually forgot to press the button, which I do every week. And I write it down in front of me to press the button. It's weird. Anyway, just to big up Julius, Patson, my brother. Thanks for your hard work, my king. He's our producer all the way from Harare. And I'm with Siza and Nkosi. Siza, how are you, my sister?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just so grateful to be alive. Greetings everybody. And thank you for the love and the engagement and the affirmation of the work that we do, I really appreciate that. And yeah, we are stronger together. It's all about black love.
Black love.
And
Black love.
yeah.
Black love, for sure.
And I'm so excited, Wes, for today's episode because, we have a beautiful sister and I'll introduce her just in a second. Sis renamed me. But like last week's episode also was something, yeah?
Yeah, man. Thank you, Andile, for coming through, man. That was something. That was really something. Thanks, my brother, for taking time. I know his schedule is pretty hectic. And he found time to speak to the biggest art-based, yes, I've said it, art-based podcast in South Africa. I've said it. And it's not the first time I said it. It won't be the second, third. Yes, thank you for coming, my king. We appreciated it too much. Siza, just before you introduce the guests, just for our guests, what we will do, our guest has a hell of a lot of work. So we'll just, after this, we'll just play a montage of her work.
Okay, so sure, guys, it's been a long day. I just want to say we're just welcoming spring, and I think it's a beautiful way to also just kickstart this conversation because our guest today, Ke Neil is, a visual artist. She caught my eye when she did this whole Mr. Price home collaboration, welcoming the spring, using vibrant colors and feminine touches, but obviously she can introduce herself much better than I do, but a very interesting sister who defines herself as a living being. I like that,
Welcome to New
She's a living being. And a human artist. So welcome, and can you please introduce yourself, Emily?
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me for this. I hate introductions. I don't know what to say, but
okay.
I'm Ke Neil, visual artist based in Johannesburg, but I am originally from Pretoria, Mamelodi.
Okay. Ke Neil, just for the listeners, so after that montage we played of your work, you have a hell of a one of the things that always draw with your work is how you always center your work around yourself. It seems like you always this focal point of your work. There's also a lot of organic sort of nature behind your work, and completely, I would say opposite that. You got to be also incredibly technical. I find those two things. Those are two loudest things or three things about your work. So we wanna pack a bunch of things. Given that just for listeners also, this episode has been recorded. It's the 9th of September, meaning that the Joburg Art Week was last weekend. So we were trying to that's just for the listeners. So, Ke Neil, let's just unpack it a little bit by bit, man. Let's start with a little bit of your background. Not too much, I know you from Pretoria. But where did your art schooling and your art consciousness start? And when did you realize that you want to do this permanently?
Okay, so it's a bit of a long story, but I'll try to sum it up. So my experience with art, I mean, I think just like everyone else, when you're a kid, you make art, right? And so, but I can't say I even considered myself an artist then, nor did I imagine that it would be a career. So that was in primary school. And so by the time I wanted to go to, I was going to high school, I chose to go to a technical high school because, I don't know, I guess because I was good with math and science, I just thought it would be a good idea. Perhaps I'll go into like a STEM career or something like that. But as soon as I started high school, I think, high school was quite traumatic. I went to Pretoria Technical High School. And obviously, because it's a technical high school, there wasn't much emphasis on art. The closest thing to art that I did was technical drawing, which later influenced the work that I did, especially at the earlier stage of my career, when I would make like geometric drawings and all that stuff. So I remember in grade 9, I wanted to go to an art school for the rest of my high school career, but my mom didn't want me to. She kind of just said I should finish what I started or whatever, which, I mean, it was hard at the time, even thinking about it. It's just one of those things where it makes you wonder how your life would have turned out had that happened. So anyway, I continued and hated high school and went through a lot of depression. But luckily, I somehow passed my matric in time. So that was fine. And then so the thought was I wanted to study interior design because I thought, well, it's still technical, but there's some creativity mixed with it. And so I think I couldn't study in the first year after high school because my what did they call it? M score wasn't enough to study at is it FADA? What's that?
FIDA.
The arts university. So I went to Tshwane University of Technology to study interior design. And then soon realized that was a huge mistake because I guess I wasn't really aware of what it's going to be like, but it turned out to be more technical than I wanted. And I went through a bit of a mental breakdown and I dropped out, and that was when I was first diagnosed with, I guess, depression, although that started earlier on. And so after that was a bit traumatic. I think I spent maybe 5 years before going back to studying. So obviously in that time, I did figure out that I actually just want to do visual art and not anything technical. And I also started like volunteering at the Pretoria Art Museum, doing some museum work like tour guides, and also art workshops that they did for kids who would come there. But the weirdest thing about that is that the museum was actually opposite my high school, and I had never stepped into it prior to that, which is quite a shame. I don't know what I thought was there. It was just this very intimidating building, you know, the whole architecture of museums and stuff. And so, yeah, it's quite interesting that I wasn't even aware of it when I was in school and probably needed it the most. So yeah, I finally studied fine art at TET, and finished my diploma, and stopped for a while to pursue my professional career, I guess. And then later on went back to try and finish my 4th year, but I felt like I wanted to go back into academia and stuff, but as soon as I was there, it felt like such a waste of time. It just reminded of how little value universities actually have when it comes to visual art and stuff like that. So I just dropped out. I just never went to class and continued with my career.
Interesting, man. A lot of I like why you say that you went back. The museum was outside the school, and it never made sense. I think most artists have a similar type story. Once you sort of get enlightened, or you realize that this is it, all of a sudden these spaces are everywhere. You realize like
the whole thing with academia is the myth of you having a better opportunity to get a job, like, you know, like a proper job with a good salary. But that's a myth. That hardly ever happens. The most you would get is to be a lecturer. Like, that's basically the whole point of studying at a university. They teach you how to be a lecturer. Anything else is quite lacking and outdated. Like, for instance, you know, I mean, we had like a module for like business or whatever, but it wasn't at all enough for any of us to actually know what we're going to do once we go out. Because I mean, artists are entrepreneurs, and for the whole academic system to ignore that and be so outdated that there's no social media type of education. And I mean, that's pretty much how I've been making my money through that. But I had to learn for myself on my own, and I feel like learning that was the most valuable thing, because before that, your only options that at least you know of is to go into the gallery system, which eventually I realized was also a scam.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and also my work didn't do so well with the gallery system. I mean, when I think about it, most of the exhibitions, I didn't sell any work, even though I know my work is good, and also the galleries who would invite me, they liked my work, but it took a while to realize why I wasn't really selling much. I think that dawned on me when I started making sales over social media like Instagram, and realized that most of my sales are from international clients. and which I guess makes sense why the market and the galleries in South Africa aren't able to sell my work.
Yeah, interesting.
And going through that as an artist, it kind of can like drive you to think that there's something lacking in your own craft, when it's only like a matter of the market.
Yeah.
And another thing is that I feel like galleries aren't even willing to try and create markets for other artists.
I agree.
Very little. For them to take 50% is ridiculous, because they actually offer you very little. And all these group exhibitions that they have, I'd say 80% of the artists showing are just for decor, because they know they have artists who they already have customers for, and they don't need to sell their work too hard, and they'll make enough money to cover the whole thing. But and then it gets expensive for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have to pay to get your work there and pay to get your work back.
Yeah,
and it's just a whole lot of nonsense, actually.
No, agreed. Siza, you want to come in there? You have something to say?
Yeah, no, really, you said like a lot. Like, when you talk about the systems of schools, I promise you I'm going through that myself. My daughter is interested in art. She was trying to get into the National School of the Arts. We missed the deadline and the whole government application thing. I didn't know it was so hectic.
Yes.
And beyond that, she is expected to be almost perfect, have gone through, learn how to play an instrument, and it was just so depressing and long process. But the point is, these systems, and you keep on mentioning them. You talk about the schooling system, and I know that you worked actually as an art educator at some point in your career, because I'd like to find out how that is about and just how art is seen. I feel like courses like ballet interior design, maybe we don't have big enough. How do you interior design in a shake? Maybe that's why you even dropped out, because who's your audience? Who's your market? Who are you selling your product to after you're done? Because that concept, it's all just the whole thing of access, right? Who art, open to, and who can access it. But I also just love the fact that you're using the space. Instagram is accessible, and you say, Uguti, you've seen progress in that space. So we give thanks for that, and we're rooting for that, because that's access is huge, guys.
And access to a global market is way better than a local gallery. Way better.
Is there space for that? Is there space for local galleries, by the way? Because
yeah. Sorry, Siza. I just want to add on top of what you were saying, just so I can, because let me just explain what I want to say. So, would like to know, man, in a post-pandemic world, it is 2022. Do you think the schools? Do you think the gallery, as in the formal, the traditional gallery, which is a system I think coming on since the 19th fucking century, do you think they are outdated? Do you think they're still gonna last 20 years?
I mean, I think they probably might. I'm not sure about my prediction on that, because I completely pulled away from that whole thing. So especially starting lockdown, I with everything being closed, and also with progress being made online, it just became less of an avenue that I even wanted to engage with. So I'm not sure how well they're doing now. I haven't been to, I mean, I also didn't go to the art fair because it's like a flea market basically. It's like all the same kind of work. There's no variety, and that kind of shows like what the market is like. Because like I remember my last art fair where I was showing work, I showed with 3 different booths and only sold one artwork. And that was completely crushing for me. That just like gave me a bit of a depression for like a week. But yeah, like it's, you know, it's I don't know. I don't think it works as well as people think it does. And I suppose also with South African economy, there's less and less rich people to consume, because obviously galleries are mostly there for people who have a lot of money. Because first of all, they mark up the prices so high that it just shrinks the whole market of like who can actually buy the work that you're selling. And as we know, very rich people will usually buy from artists that are very well known or that are represented by very well known galleries as well. Yeah.
But like, sis, for me, you know, I know I was trying to talk about you as an art educator. Like, why are we aspiring to that rich audience? Like, can't art be made accessible? Because sometimes I feel like, you know, our audience is the people that are just not aware of art as a form and something to consider, you know, as part of your lifestyle and, you know, spiritual connection to higher things. Because I also see a lot of that in your work, and I feel like we've got the audience, maybe it's not the richest one, but just people who are connected in the way that you do. Like, I see your videos, and, you know, obviously, because you do that, also you interrogate the space that you work in, the medium that you use. You've done collages.
Yeah, if you want to pick on that, I would like to.
And your space selling through Instagram, and, you know, Wes is just like moving with his app as well, Gallery 360 Africa, you know, that normalizes that space. But I don't know, how do you engage with the society that you have? Just also bearing in mind that the society is very, I know it's not completely perfect, but the society is aware of the digital space as a space that we need to exist in.
Yeah, I mean, wait, you started wanting to go back to the education thing.
Yeah, if you can start
there. Yeah. So with me, okay, so I started doing art education when I was at the museum doing the program. And then the last time I did that was there's an organization called Civiqua Art. So I must say it's a good program.
Civiqua is dope.
And they also pay decently for something that is I don't know, like based on like a non-profit thing and getting grants from the government and stuff. So with that program, you get to go teach at a school, and preferably like disadvantaged schools, like in the hood and stuff. So I went to my primary school, this primary school that I used to go to, and I think you're there for the first 2 terms, and then the kids get to exhibit the work that they did at the art center, and that's when it ends. But
Sorry to
So
interrupt. Yeah.
I was working with grade 7s and grade 6, but you can choose whether you wanna do primary or high school and which grades. It's up to the artist. So yeah, I was excited to do that, but it soon became very clear that there's only so much you can do as one person, and because like the whole thing was that the artist would work with the class teacher. So like the teacher is supposed to be there with you, and you are just there to facilitate, and also while teaching the kids, but also teaching the teachers how to teach art, because they have no
idea.
Because like a lot of the kids, the closest thing to the art subject they did was just writing, doing tasks in their books, like they hardly, every time I come with paint, you can see how the kids are so excited to actually do practical stuff. But there isn't much support from the teachers as well as the school to make that possible. I mean, I just think it's absurd to make teachers who have no idea about art, to make them teach kids art and expect the kids to get something of value. Because by the time they get to high school, they won't be interested in art because they never got to experience the fullness of it. You can't just write about it and think kids will be excited to be artists in the future at all.
It's a human rights violation, actually.
It is.
But the same happens with literature. Like, I also remember how much I hated my English teacher, for example. Like, I hated poetry. Sometimes, because I also just didn't get it. I didn't hate it. I didn't have.
I had terrible teachers myself.
Oh my god! I was like,
and like, you were right there.
I don't know when that happens, where teachers are not even trained in the subject that they actually teach. It's so bizarre that that's the norm now.
Yeah.
It is. My mother is an retired teacher, and she ended up teaching mathematics, believe it or not. And she was not very sharp. Not that I'm, like numbers wasn't as strong, but she was good at many other different things. So you're right. You just explained to us the Instagram gig. How did you, why first Instagram, and how do you use it? How are you interacting with your clients, and what are your clients looking for on your page?
And who are your clients?
So okay, since this is related to the pandemic, we were talking about that.
Yeah.
So, but I started posting on Instagram before the pandemic, obviously, and I finally gained an audience by I guess following people who were in the same, or at least making the work that is in the same aesthetic category as mine. So that way I got the right people to see my work, because it's easier that way to like get the right market for what you do, just by following people who are also into it. Because at first I was just following whoever is suggested, just from people who I already know, and that was I must say I wasn't enjoying Instagram that much before, and then so when I started finding my own niche, that's when things started happening, and I would get people wanting to buy and all that stuff. So when the pandemic started, it was actually quite surprising because that year I think I made the most sales than ever before, and even after. I remember one of the clients even buying more artworks because they mentioned that, well, they have all this extra cash from not going out and stuff, so they might as well buy
Brilliant.
like more work than like
Brilliant.
two instead of one.
Were
And
these international?
that was surprising.
Were these international
Yes.
clients from Europe, from the West,
From
not from Africa?
US? No,
North
from
Africa.
the US, Europe, and Australia.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was quite interesting to me because like it does make sense that people had a lot of extra cash
Yeah.
to spend on things like art, because you're not going out to eat, you're not going out to drink and stuff. And so yeah, 2020 I did well with that. 2021 did well, but then so also with Instagram, that's where I would get a lot of these commissions, like even the Mr. Price one, I got it. They contacted me saying they follow me on they saw my work on Instagram, and they've actually been following me for like 4 years. And I didn't know that, but that was cool to see, because I mean, at the beginning of anyone's art career, you'll you'll sort of like send out your work to all these companies asking for work and stuff. That never worked for me, but it was just interesting to see like how many of these big clients chose to work with me because they saw it on Instagram.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, I think most of the commissions I got last year. So that's the Mr. Price one. There's a Pick and Pay one, and also Amazon recently. They so yeah, that was cool. But now the problem is with these platforms like Instagram. To be honest, this year has been terrible. They probably changed the algorithm, and so because of the change in the algorithms, it's so weird because I'm not getting as much traffic, especially from new people wanting to buy my work and all that stuff. So that's been kind of disheartening to see that happen, because like obviously I prefer Instagram more than Facebook. I started out on Facebook, but I guess because on Facebook mostly the people who see the work are like your friends, and at some point Facebook changed their algorithms so that pages are not as seen so much,
Knock your shit.
and the whole advertising thing.
Come on.
I even had to first I canceled my ad account on Facebook because they were charging for ads that I remember checking wanting to advertise, and then they told me I owe for the last ad that I did and didn't pay for. And even in the settings,
yo, Mod Soccer, but don't fuck around, yo.
Dude, even with the ad settings, they had somehow set it to lifetime.
Whoa.
So like the good thing about it was that I had changed credit cards, so they weren't able to keep charging me month. And the worst thing is that there's no real customer service. I mean, I don't even know how many times I try to, put in reports of like this, like explain to me how. So fine, I closed that account and I kept the Instagram one, but at some point Facebook took over Instagram, like even with the ad stuff. And then I remember one day getting an SMS that Facebook took money for ads.
We'll get into a really interesting part of the conversation where you were saying what these other platforms should be and what. So, in your opinion, what? How do you think these platforms should be created? What do you think they should have? What do you think they shouldn't have? And how does the creative sort of fit into that ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, I think like as creators right now, we're at a point where creators need to be the ones creating these platforms and deciding what's important, and also looking out for other creators, because I've noticed that even with like the Instagrams, the others, it's like they will start by enticing creators to be on there, and then once they get to a point where now they make it harder and harder for creators to continue the success that they've been seeing, because of late stage capitalism. It's better for them to make it harder for smaller creators and focus on the bigger ones, just like the gallery system does.
Yeah.
So like I've been thinking of, because this year, after seeing what how the Instagram algorithms can like completely destroy everything you've built, I have been looking at trying out other platforms, and also thinking a lot about that's when I started moving more into video work and wanting to work with musicians, because like the biggest realization for me with the pandemic is how, I mean, it's bad for all artists, I imagine, but probably mostly for musicians, especially when you consider that most of the work that the actual musicians get, not the money that the actual musicians get, is from performance. And when that wasn't around, it's like at the same time, that's when Spotify and them even made it even harder for musicians to make money. But I've realized now, especially with YouTube, I realized that the best avenue to take for any creator, like any of us trying to build platforms that are more ethical, the best thing is to use like what Patreon does, like give the power to the consumers, because like they're more likely to give money to the actual artists and not Spotify or YouTube. And also I remember watching a TED Talk long ago, forgot who the artist is, but the whole crowdfunding thing. All the artists that I know about, like there's lots of potential there to finally make like to finally get people to pay for what you're worth. Like, for instance, people are very willing, especially your fans, consumers. I think we're all very aware of how fucked up these platforms keep getting. And so instead of setting prices according to the current system that we have, I've seen how consumers will actually give you way more money than the big platforms will give you for your work, because then it's up to them to decide how much to give you. I mean, people could buy your song for $10 instead of $1 if you give them the option to.
Yeah, no, you are right.
So like having platforms where you give your consumers the option for them to pay the artist with an open heart.
I hear you, and you're correct. Siza, I can see Eskom decided to get hold of you there. Yeah, it's actually the second time it's happened. Wow. All of a sudden, everything is just malfunctioning. What you see, they were listening to what they were listening. Your criticism is going. They're acting fast this time.
I have a lot to say.
But like I agree with you.
This is the platform,
and this is the platform for that. Yeah, I agree with you. And it's super interesting what you are saying. You are right. I mean, I don't know what else to say. You are dead correct. And I like the point that you say that your fans will pay you more if there's a direct link. Absolutely.
And that's why, like, we push the whole Black love narrative, right? Because I feel like also we don't need to limit our audiences to, we should be open and welcome to, and ready actually to welcome different new audiences. Like, because that's the work, and you say it says like that's the work. And I mean, you've said a lot of things. One, I wanted to find out, like, do you find that your audiences, because you refer to them as clients, so
consumers,
people come back, like, you get the same people coming back to consume your art. That's one question, because I think that's really nice.
I do. And also, I mean, before this year, I was also getting new customers, and it was working pretty well. I mean, that was a good thing, but until everything just switched up on everyone.
Because no, please go on. Sorry.
But as I was saying, like, I thought of also collaborating with musicians, like building platforms where it's more interdisciplinary instead of just there for images or just there for digital art,
Sorry, Sis, because that's exactly what I wanted to like sort of touch on, the whole collaboration. I know Wes and I did a class together, so I asked him to do a lecture in a creative writing class, but through a visual artist lens, and I find that is a powerful platform, and that's why we're actually doing this podcast, to present a different lens on how we consume and criticize and engage the art that we do. And like you say, in academia, you're interested in that space, you keep saying, and it's frustrating because I don't know if the space is living within communities. Do they even know what who their clients are, how can they engage them, because I find that there's a disconnect, sometimes between the university and its clients, really, the people who come there to learn. I'm not sure why.
I think also the disconnect is because, like, I don't know why they don't update the syllabus enough, which, I mean, we see now with technology, there's, a faster update rate of like new ways to make money and new platforms all the time. But like when you go to university, I doubt there's even today, there's even a bigger emphasis on the artist as an entrepreneur, like putting that and also like social media as a tool, like the internet as a tool. It's so outdated. Like, I wouldn't recommend anyone go to university. And now that the whole academia has been democratized by being online, there's actually cheaper and more focused ways you can study art than going to university for 3 years to learn something that you could have done in 1 year. And then being in debt, like now
and then being in debt, you can nail on the head. Hardcore.
Yeah,
you're right, my sister.
Yeah. I owe NEPSs, but like I've just come to a point where I'm like, I'm not gonna pay me until they, like, I'll just make it hard for them to find me, and like it, because like it's such an unethical thing and now it's at a point where, you know how these companies, they'll sell your debt to a debt collector company. So technically you don't owe them anymore, but the debt collectors are now going to come after you to try and make up for the small money that they paid for your debt. So it's at that point now. And also there's a lot of scammery happening, because like I'd get called by a different company talking about the same debt, and it's like, what the hell? Now how do I know which company is the right one anyway? It's so messed up. But yeah, the internet is there for anyone to learn, like, and I feel like, well, for myself, a focus, like I would have liked to get a more focused type of education. Like, for instance, when I went back to do my BTech, one of the things that annoyed me was that you get given specific tasks. Like, I wasn't there to write essays about other artists in my fourth year. Like, and even that, like, things like that can deter someone from even continuing with academia, because like most people will excel in things that they're genuinely interested in than writing an essay about Picasso. Like, who cares about Picasso today?
Yeah, like, fuck Picasso. I think he was a misogyny and he drank too much. And I think he beat but women. So fuck him. And I thought he stole from Africa too, so he appropriated.
Also, I just recently found out that Salvador Dali was probably a fascist.
Yeah,
also that I never learned that in academia. They never told us that.
Yeah, a lot of drugs. You could also look at like the serialists, like how they got that weird ass images. If he was black, I don't think we would have been talking about him. They would have said he was crazy and drug addict. And Siza, sorry man, you want to come in there?
Yeah, because I think that I love that we have this space where we can really focus on what we are doing to change all of that nonsensical nonsense going on. Like, sis, you work with flowers and, color. well, recently, like when I checked out like what you're busy with, and it was just, we were just celebrating the new year as Africans, it's spring, it's a new birth, like according to us, it's a new year, it's a new season. Can you tell us about that process? Because I think that's what I thought um I should mention in the beginning, your collaboration with art, accessible art through like debatings and things that we consume. Because like art for me, with your floral, it's also scent, it's also it's a whole experience. And yeah, can you talk about that process?
Explain that to us, please.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I find it quite funny that I got this interior design commission when
right?
I dropped out of interior design. So it's like coming full circle. Now I get in the same space without actually going through the So I mean, I think that's also like a really good space for artists to get involved in, like merchandising, especially, like I'm quite impressed with Mr. Price that they actually source real artists to work on collections and stuff. And I mean, for a company that is very much for like working class, middle class, they're actually doing way more for consumers than, and also for creators than all these other ones. Like, so like that was, I wasn't, like I said, they contacted me and I was more than happy to do that. And I would like more jobs like that. So with this one, the theme was actually Women's Month, but it kind of fits with spring as well. But I'm a spring baby. I guess maybe that's why I use a lot of flora in my work. And looking back, so my art started a bit more technical, like the drawings that you were talking about. And it was mainly monochromatic. So that was influenced mainly by my interest in first in physics, because that's when I kind of fell in love with the sciences and biology, or like properly instead of in school. And so I started with the more monochromatic drawings, like geometric ones, and also the organic, because I was very interested in like complexity and simplicity. And then at some point because I've always said to myself that I don't want to get stuck in one particular medium or aesthetic for too long. Like not being signed to a gallery has given me also the freedom to do that, to change my my body of work when I want to, when I need to. Because I've realized with artists that get signed, it's like you have to make that type of work for the rest of your career.
Pretty much.
Otherwise, they drop you. So this has opened me up to doing other things. So getting into collage with I think my first exhibition of them was my solo exhibition. The collages with like my face, my portrait, and like flora and fauna and stuff like that. And surprisingly, that exhibition was very successful. I mean, it wasn't at a commercial gallery, which was great, but I actually sold half the exhibition was sold, although it was to one person, a collector from Belgium. That sort of also confirmed my market, because like I've actually had quite a few clients from Belgium and all those European countries and the US. So he's an art dealer, yeah. So he bought like half of it, and that was fantastic. So the work now, I think after that work, I moved on to a different kind of collage, like sort of going back to the more abstract work that I used to do, but now mixing it with collage technique. So drawing the abstract patterns again, organic and geometric, and then using those to sculpt like the collages. So moving away from using figurative imagery and kind of going back to the more abstract. So that's been fun to do. And this year I then had to come up with, I had to, I don't know, start exploring a new medium more. I mean, I had done video and digital work for a while, but now I'm focusing more on that. Also, just because I feel like it now, and I never want to. How do I put it? Like do things that I don't really feel like doing, which happens a lot with like commissions. But I'm glad to be where I am now. I'm building my digital portfolio, and I mean I've done some augmented reality and VR, which is a really great market to tap into now while it's still young.
Yeah.
And I want to do that again. Yeah.
Can you like one of the things that you know I think is consistent in what you're saying is how you are sort of comfortable in being in sort of being mainstream, but outside of the mainstream, you're sort of being comfortable in your skin, you're comfortable in your process and your technique, which I think is a space that not many artists have. You mentioned earlier on the frustrations, and I've been there with being signed to a gallery or it's a very rigid structure. It can also be a very stressful structure, and it's not really a sustainable structure either. I mean, like it, the same is for publishers, and like with even with music companies, which is interesting. I guess one of the beautiful things that comes across thick here is how you've taken advantage of the digital platform and already finding you. So big ups to that, man. That's definitely massive. I
think that's definitely where everyone should be invested in digital platforms.
Absolutely, man, for sure. Just for my listeners, something that's quite weird is happening here. The screen is, I think there's something wrong with Zoom. It looks as if something is not correct. But it seems like everything else on the laptop is working. So just for the viewers, if your screen is fuzzy or funny, it's Zoom. But don't worry, we're working on our platform using a pitch Zoom and get decent stuff soon. These guys are making too much money over us anyway. Siza, sort of to wrap up this episode. What are you currently? I mean, besides the commissioned work, the year's almost, only a few months left of the year. What's your, are you working on anything for, for the rest of the year? What are the projects outside of the working? What type of art are you doing? And like, if the viewers want to get hold of you, how do they get hold of you and that type of thing?
Right now, I am working on commissions for musicians, like album art, and also, it's and also with merchandising. I started producing like t-shirts, just trying out different things. And like we were saying, I think the merchandise area has been neglected a lot, especially by real artists.
Absolutely.
Because you find it a lot with like graphic design and stuff, but it's actually a good way to make your art accessible to all class status. So for me, you can find my work on Instagram. That's where I still put up everything on there. It's like my digital catalog. So that's the most updated. But now, like I was saying, I'm trying out other platforms like YouTube and Vimeo. Still trying to see what works and what might not. So I'm also open to collaborations with like how do I put software, even people in like software engineering, design, and like the what is like coders, the web stuff. Like, it was interesting to collaborate with those how do I put it,
those digital artists. And I can tell you one thing, they definitely listen to this platform. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I spoke to an interesting brother from Lesotho not too long ago. I'm also working on some interesting
like AI programmers, software programmers, app programmers, like as we're seeing, like most people have moved away from like desktop websites and and so like the best thing that could happen is like a platform where it's not only about one thing, but it's like an amalgamation of artists and consumers, and like because when you think about it, YouTube is only for a specific type of video content, and then you get Instagram. Now they're still trying to figure out whether they want to make it more video or stay with images, but they're all kind of separated in a way. So I look forward to doing work like that, but creating platforms with other artists and try to see if like we can carve out a niche space for consumers, because I think a lot of consumers are now very hungry for artist-driven things, because we're seeing how late-stage capitalism is like continually fucking us over.
For sure, my sister. Thanks a lot, man. You said a bunch of things I agree with, like 100%. I love your anti, but yet pro stance in many ways. Like I love the conference and work as well. Like you'll definitely hear from us just in terms of the collaboration thing, because we're definitely big on that. Thanks for coming through this platform. My sister Siza, like sorry about the lights, and like
can
you just wrap up first there?
No, it is what it is. I mean, I'm so inspired and so grateful, sis, that you joined us today. Like the whole idea of collaboration also just comes down to what I always talk about, black love. You know, we
Black
are stronger
love.
together.
Black love.
And I love that you are using different forms, or you're collaborating in different forms, and you are present because that's the role of an artist, to reflect the times, and that's what you're doing. You
So
know.
big up to
Um,
you.
I think all these social media spaces are also crazy, man, because the content that's being pushed, it doesn't make sense to me on so many levels. Like, I don't know when we're gonna unpack that, but I know that it's urgent that we create our own spaces as well.
Yeah,
Like,
because we're not going to change Facebook's minds or
Exactly.
YouTube's minds at
No,
all.
exactly.
we gotta do it
They've got
ourselves.
something that works, but how do we identify and popularize that in our own like communities? And I'm seriously just loving the spring collection. I'd like
Yeah,
to
all the best
collaborate.
with that, and I hope the best of luck.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Sorry?
Yeah, it's not a spring collection, by the way. They don't want me to say that. It's a women's month collection.
Women's Month
They
collection.
just
Okay,
started
that's
the
marketing
spring
PR there. Okay, nice one. But yeah, man, if
Yeah.
all the listeners checking out, like if you come across the Neil's work, please give a shout out. Tune into the spot.
Yeah. And you can go onto the Mr. Price app to see the merchandise that I worked on. My own
Okay.
design.
Yeah, no, we celebrate ourselves here. Thank you, sis. Like you
Thank you
are
very much, my
doing.
sister, man. I'll be in touch
Yeah.
as to when the episode goes live within a few weeks' time. Much love, man. I think that's back. It's really cool having you too. Yeah, and that's
Okay.
it makes me want to smoke something as well. My sister, enjoy your evening. We'll be in touch on social media now. One love.
Bye. Bye.
Salute.
Hola.